More money is coming to help Ontario couples struggling with infertility. The province is giving
Our government's investment will ensure tens of thousands of more Ontario families can access fertility services. By expanding the program.
So the government is giving $150 million over 2 years. This is to expand the Ontario fertility program. The health minister says the money is going to triple the number of families who receive government funding while increasing access and reducing wait times. For more of what all of that means in practical terms, let's bring in Dr. Sarah O'Connell. She's a family physician with a focus practice on fertility medicine. Great to have you in studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
A lot of good things in that announcement, so let's break them down and what they look like practically. How much of a difference will this funding make for couples?
I think a big difference really overall. We're going to be able to see quicker access to care. We know that time to access these fertility treatments changes their prognosis and outcomes. So being able to realize their dream of having a family that they may not have been able to before in an easier financial way, as well as relieving a lot of the burdens associated, not just financially, with accessing this care.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those. Ontario has 50 fertility clinics. Most of those are in major cities, highly populated areas. Can you lay out for us how difficult is it to get fertility treatment and care if you're in rural parts of the province? So
challenging. So I practice in a rural area,
okay.
And it makes it very difficult for patients to be able to access this care. They have to travel for hours, sometimes flying, to be able to access their care. And there's a lot of costs associated with that aren't just the fertility treatments. There's overnight stays, there are accommodations at different places, being able to have the support from other testing that's not just associated with IVF, all of the workup that's required prior to going through IVF. There's a lot to consider, and being able to provide this service in a rural area is really challenging right now with the current landscape.
Yeah, well, and I imagine as well, there's like taking days off work if you have to do frequent appointments. We know that infertility is common. The World Health Organization says 1 in 6 people experience infertility. What are some of the biggest challenges that couples face when it comes to accessing treatments like IVF and IUI?
I think that there are so many right now, the wait times most notably. The biggest part that I'm so excited about with this funding is it changing prognosis for patients previously who might have been waiting years and years to be able to access that funding, which would mean the difference of several cycles of IVF for them potentially, which means a decline in their egg quantity and quality over time. And that means a difference to their outcome. It can mean that they may not be able to realize their dream of having a family, which is so devastating.
Location, we talked about rural accessibility, but also finances are a real life hindrance. Part of this expansion is offering a tax credit to couples who are seeking fertility treatments. Talk to me about the difference this makes for couples in terms of accessing things that they maybe don't have the savings or disposable income for treatment and multiple treatments.
Exactly. So, I mean, this will really help with being able to access that care in a more timely manner. The difference of being able to have that tax credit will mean that it will help offset some of those costs. Some of those costs, there's a lot more than just finance, we know, associated with being able to access that. There's getting time off work from your employer, getting support from your employer to be able to take that time away to do those treatments. Even with that funding, that may still be challenging for them to be able to access that. Yeah, it's really difficult, but I'm excited to see the change that this is going to make for patients.
Yeah, I bet. Part of the excitement is lived experience on your own part. So while I have you here, do you mind to share your story, your journey?
Sure. So part of the reason that I ended up practicing fertility medicine as a family doc is that I went through it myself a number of years ago. Even as a physician, I found it rather overwhelming, all of the knowledge associated with it, and even with the privilege and the resources that I had, it was challenging. So I'm excited to see some of those barriers being broken down for patients now, that they're able to access that easily. I was fortunate to have success. Not everyone does, but it was a long road and hard to get there, for sure.
So you really can empathize with the families who will benefit from some of the announcements made. I want to thank you, Dr. O'Connell, for coming in today. Family physician, you've got a focused practice on fertility. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.